Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee. I'm wearing my Giants jacket because of the fact that the Giants are playing Sunday and they're going to play in Green Bay in an ice bowl, but that will wait till Sunday. But I'm just wearing this for good luck. Meanwhile, I just want to show you what I've done with respect to the current storm that's heading our way. I've nudged up snow totals based on the models that I looked at this evening. Some of the super short range models are fairly bullish with regards to snow. And this is what I wound up doing. I moved the northern edge of the line where the cutoff is going to be in terms of just precipitation to northeastern Pennsylvania to about Kingston into southwestern Massachusetts. And then we have the 1 to 2 inch line, which runs from just north of Allentown across northwest New Jersey. So the northwestern counties wind up with a coating to maybe an inch, if that. But it's going to be very sharp between where the snow line stops and where you start to see some accumulation. So I may have made it a little too broad, but that continues up to about Newburgh Beacon into northwestern Connecticut. And then the back edge of 2 to 4 inches just west of Philadelphia, running across northern New Jersey, kind of cutting it in half, just west of Paterson, and then heading into the Hudson Valley through northern areas of Westchester County, also cutting Rockland County in half, and then on up into Connecticut along Route 84 and northeastward from there. 2 to 4 inches in this band that runs, including Philadelphia, Trenton, Edison, Elizabeth, New York City, the southern parts of Westchester County, White Plains, much of southwestern Connecticut, just inland of the coast, going northeast toward Windham and into northern Rhode Island. That 2 to 4 inches edges its way into Nassau County. Then we have a band of 4 to maybe 6 inches that goes from eastern Nassau to east central Suffolk to about Riverhead, and that 4 to 6 also extends through much of southeastern Connecticut and the southern half of Rhode Island, and I put in a band of 6 to 8 inches from Riverhead on east. Now, I did this because of the HRRR model, and also before we even look at that, the radar. The radar presentation tonight is excellent. You've got solid coverage here, no breaks at all in the precipitation. You've already got precipitation aloft. The atmosphere really looks pretty juiced here as it moves up into southern Virginia and on northward. And a lot of this area is going to get a substantial amount of snow into southern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina, away from the coastline. And there's just a lot of moisture here that's moving northeastward. That back edge, that northern edge here, is lining up pretty close to where I drew the line of no snow. If you use a trajectory and just continue on its current motion, which I think it's forecast to do. So let's look at the HRRR model. This is the ultra rapid refresh short range, and I'm going to take you through this. And the precipitation really holds together very well as the low emerges off the North Carolina coast. So the snow actually moves in tomorrow morning across New York City right around 9 o'clock. It runs up along Route 78. It covers now all of Long Island. And from here, it goes into Connecticut and into the Hudson Valley. Now, the northern edge of this gets pretty far to the north. So, this is telling me that this thing wants to be a little more tucked in. You can see the darker shades of blue, some of the heavier snow. And I want to point out that, the temperatures here are going to be in the low 20s when it's snowing. And that's going to probably increase the snow ratios to 15 to 1. Usually 1 inch of rain, 10 inches of snow. Well, this might be 1 inch of rain equals 14 or 15 inches of snow in some cases. Now, we only have the HRRR because it only goes out 18 hours, so we only have it till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you still see there's still plenty of snow. So it's going to snow at least for another 3 or 4 hours in most of these places or more. A little bit less out to the west where it's about to come to an end. But the bottom line is I think it's going to be able to put down those snow amounts that I forecast. When we compare it to the NAM model, it's about the same. The darkest blues, that's like really super heavy snow if you're going on in the ocean. I mean, that stays out to the east. You'd have to have the low tucked in somewhere in here in order to get really into that, and I don't think that's going to happen. But with the very cold temperatures, the added ratios are going to compensate somewhat for that. And then when we look at the 4 kilometer NAM, it's got its back edge snow a little further to the west, but it's close enough. And the 3 kilometer NAM also very, very close. So all the models seem to be pretty close in what they are, forecasting. So let's go to the RGEM model, another short range model. This actually brings some of the darker blues very close to eastern Long Island and southern New Jersey. This probably has the low more tucked in than any of them. And the RGEM, this is at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And then, of course, we get to 7 o'clock and then 10 o'clock. It's still snowing on the coast, according to the RGEM. And, a lot of times in situations like this, even though it shows light precipitation, this is very cold air that's coming down and getting drawn in. And, the snow ratios here are going to be maybe increasing a little bit more than 15-1 in this case. So it'd still be maybe snowing at a pretty good clip here into tomorrow evening. And then after that, of course, it's gone and it's just very cold. And by the way, the core of this cold air comes right overhead Sunday afternoon. So I wouldn't be surprised. It is showing some snow showers here. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see some snow squall activity from it. So, I'm pretty well locked into this. At this point, the GFS and the European are kind of not really too relevant, but we'll look at them anyway. I mean, the GFS was actually, for it, as it's been the furthest right of all the models, was actually a little more tucked in to the coast and gave a little bit more in terms of liquid precipitation. So it kind of matches up to some degree with the snow amounts, and then it moves out. So let's check. I didn't look at the Canadian. Let's look at that and see what that does. So I'm looking at this for the first time with you, and look, it's pretty much the same idea with all the other models. They're all very, very close to each other. So I suspect that the European will probably come in the same way. I'm going to widen out so we could just real quick look at what we can expect down the road, because the pattern's going to start going under. I think what it is it's undergoing another change process, and it's not going to necessarily finish where it just stays warm for a long time. I'm not really buying that idea. So let's look at this on the. Let me make sure I have the Canadian still up. Okay, so this is the Canadian. Now we have this next low approaching with a warm front. I think this might wind up being a little colder here. And when we get into later Tuesday or Tuesday night, there might be some snow, sleet, and freezing rain at the start when this warm front comes through, and then that goes by. It gets a little warmer than normal. The air behind it is not really all that cold, but you can see there's another cold high that comes down later next week and into next weekend, at least according to Canadian. And the Canadian, it sets up something for next weekend, if that's right. The GFS has a similar idea here, although it's not quite as robust as the Canadian, but it kind of has the same idea. And as we go on, I mean, it's not the most wintry pattern, but it isn't the most spring-like pattern either. And when we take a look at the upper air on the GFS as we go forward, and we can see it here. So we have the whole thing out. I mean, I'm looking at it for the first time with you. So, here's our system now that's going through. Pretty decent trough there. And then that lifts out. We have another little shot that winds up going to the west because we've got this ridge here that builds up in the east. You can see it there. But then it gets kind of flattened out, and it's not that warm. It's warm. It's not that warm really when I look at it. And you got some semblance of blocking that's going to reappear probably later in the period if this is correct. So you know what? It's all in flux as far as I'm concerned, and we're just going to keep watching it and seeing how it evolves. I find all these things very interesting and fascinating. I can't look at weather with these sort of unequivocal statements that things are going to happen definitely in a certain way. We just saw this week, just what we saw this week and what we're seeing now, all happening that, was not necessarily depicted correctly on the long range. So just in review, real quick, Long Island, coastal New Jersey, 4 to 6 inches, 6 to 8 in eastern Long Island, 2 to 4 inches for New York City and Philadelphia, 1 to 2 inches as you start to go north and west of there, and even less as you get further north and northwest. This is a typical storm. When you have a lot of cold air, the coast does better than the inland spots. So we will update you, of course, during the day on Saturday when the snow gets underway, and more on the website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Download my weather app and subscribe to my forecast. The link will be coming up just about now. You can subscribe. It's just 99 cents a month for forecast for New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, New Jersey, and eastern Pennsylvania. So all you snow lovers, you're going to get a nice, decent snow that live in the New York City area and points to the east and along the coast. You're going to see a pretty nice snowfall out of this.